When we picture the American Civil War, we imagine cannon blasts, smoky battlefields, and soldiers marching across miles of hard terrain. But behind every charge and every campfire was a reality far fewer people talk about: food, or more accurately, the lack of food. Both Union and Confederate soldiers lived on scraps, improvisation, and creative survival cooking. What they ate was often bland, hard, rotten, or barely recognizable, and yet these odd, scrappy recipes kept armies alive long enough to fight. Here are 7 Civil War recipes so strange and resourceful that they still shock people today. Hardtack. The tooth-breaking soldier. Bread. If the Civil War had a mascot food, it was hardtack. Made from nothing but flour, water, and salt, this brick-like biscuit was baked until nearly indestructible. Soldiers joked it had 3 uses: food, building material, and ammunition. Hardtack could survive for decades without rotting, which is honestly exactly why military quartermasters loved it and, well, soldiers hated it. To make it edible, troops soaked it in coffee bacon grease soup or even rainwater. One common recipe was skilly-gilly hardtack soaked in cold water, then fried in pork fat. Simple, greasy, and barely chewable, but, it kept men going. Desperation coffee. The brew made from anything but coffee. Coffee was a lifeline for Union soldiers, but supplies ran out constantly. Confederates had it even worse. Blockades choked off imports, turning real coffee into a luxury item. So, soldiers invented fake coffee substitutes, brewing hot liquid from things like parched corn, roasted acorns, burnt sweet potatoes, dandelion roots, and chicory. The most famous was Confederate acorn coffee. Troops would roast acorns, grind them, boil them, and, well, pretend the bitter woody brew was the real thing. By modern standards, it was pretty much undrinkable, but caffeine or not, it actually kept morale alive. Slapjack pancakes, battlefield flapjacks without eggs or milk. Civil War camps didn't have proper kitchens, so soldiers made slapjacks. So, a crude pancake called a slapjack was made from just flour, water, salt, and some bacon grease. They slapped the dough onto a hot skillet, hence the name, and cooked it until it browned on both sides. Slapjacks were often eaten with molasses or, honestly, whatever scraps soldiers could find. Kush, sometimes called slosh, was the one-pot battlefield hash. Kush was actually a favorite among Confederate infantry. This was because it required almost no ingredients and cooked up really quickly. Soldiers made it by frying whatever meat they had, maybe fresh beef or some captured salt pork, then adding crumbled cornbread or hardtack, mixing everything with bacon fat and water, and cooking it until it turned thick and mushy. The result was a filling, sloppy stew that tasted different every time, depending on the meat quality, which, to be honest, was often extremely questionable. Men called it slosh, kush, or, well, simply the mush. Hasty pudding. The cornmeal lifeline. Cornmeal was abundant in the South, so Confederate soldiers, well, they really relied heavily on hasty pudding. It was just a simple boiled mush of cornmeal and water. You could eat it hot as a porridge, or let it cool, slice it, and even fry it in pork fat. Sometimes they mixed it into bread or sweetened it with molasses when they could get their hands on some. Nutritionally, it kept men alive. Emotionally, it reminded them of home. Salt horse. The infamous rotten beef. So, salt horse was this salted beef that was shipped in barrels, often for months, until it turned stringy, leathery, and, occasionally green. Both sides ate it, but, honestly, neither side liked it. To make salt horse edible, soldiers had to, soak it in water for hours, boil it over and over again, and even scrape off these mysterious growths, and sometimes, well, they would chop it into stews just to hide the taste. Union soldiers actually joked that it wasn't beef at all, but the salty remains of a horse that died twice. Still, salt horse was protein, and, protein meant strength. Applejack, that was the illegal home-brewed camp alcohol. Alcohol was technically restricted in both armies, but soldiers being soldiers, they always found ways around the rules. Applejack was this, potent, improvised liquor made by fermenting apples into hard cider, then leaving the jar outside overnight to freeze and removing the ice to concentrate the alcohol. The more nights it froze, the stronger it became. Applejack helped soldiers numb pain, stay warm, celebrate victories and, forget fear for a while. Some commanders banned it outright, others just turned a blind eye as long as discipline didn't collapse. And today, in 2025, making freeze-distilled alcohol is illegal in many states, but back then, this Civil War hack kept countless soldiers warm and sane. The Civil War wasn't just fought with rifles and cannons, it was fought with hunger, scarcity, and a whole lot of improvisation. Soldiers survived on creativity, grit, and honestly, whatever ingredients they could scrape together. Today these scrappy recipes might seem shocking to us, but for men marching through mud, sleeping under open skies, and facing death every single day, these simple, strange foods were lifelines.